All right, so I hope this lesson helped you with the question, how does my body keep me safe? In the last lesson, you learned about all the things that can cause damage to your body, called pathogens. Pathogens such as viruses, which cause the flu, the cold, AIDS, COVID. These guys that cause things like Lyme disease. These guys, the fungi that cause ringworm and athlete's foot, stuff that grows on your skin. Over here we have protists. Protists cause stuff like malaria and worms. All right, you maybe have heard of a tapeworm, which is really a worm. It can grow inside your intestine, and it latches onto the inside lining of your intestine and can grow to be actually a foot long. And what it does is it feeds off the food that you have digested. So, how does your body do it? All right. Before we get to that, this question here. How do you lower your chances of catching mono? Well, since mono is a disease that is caused by saliva, avoid saliva. Okay, a lot of things that you're doing right now to keep you safe from the coronavirus are things that will keep you safe from mono. The first line of defense, that's your skin, that's the lining of your respiratory system, that's the saliva and acids in your stomach. In this first question, it asks you to identify the skin's defenses based on what's given to you in the text. And there's sweat and oil that trap the pathogens on the surface. You've got destructive chemicals that can keep you safe, particularly from those types of fungi that can grow on the surface of your skin. And then dead skin cells, of course, will fall off the body, taking with them anything that is on it. Looking over here at the challenge question. So the text didn't tell you anything about this, so you just kind of have to infer. If blood is flowing out of the wound, that's going to carry any pathogen that's on the surface near the cut away from the opening so it doesn't get into your body. Right, so on this page, we've got the other parts that keep you safe in the first line of defense. We've got in the mouth saliva that will, and I spelled that wrong, have chemicals that can kill pathogens. Once it gets down, if anything gets down to the stomach, the acids can also kill pathogens. And then the respiratory system, we've got mucus and we've got cilia, the little hairs that can trap and whisk away the particles that shouldn't be there. And coughing and sneezing will also help forcefully push it out. Now we get to the inflammatory and immune responses. All right, so these are the second and third lines of defense. And over here it asks you to interpret the word inflammare from Latin. And what you should do is think of a rash, right? A rash is red, a rash is warm. So it has that fire-like nature to it. So that's what inflammation means. It's got to do with something that's hot and also has a fire-like look to it. Now, compare and contrast. It asks you to, if you read it very carefully, use just the first paragraph. Okay, so if we go up here, we find that this is all about the second and third lines of defense. And if it's about defense, then it's going to keep your body safe. Both of these responses. The inflammatory response has fluid and white blood cells, okay, that can leak into an area that is damaged and destroy anything that shouldn't be there. As for the immune response, we've got special immune cells that are able to target each individual pathogen with their own kind of defense. Okay, so they're specific for that thing that makes you sick. Now, this is really pretty cool. This is what happens when you have some kind of damage to the immune system. You have this general inflammatory response. And this is an example of what happens when a splinter pierces the skin and some bacteria get in. What happens here is alarm signals are sent off by that damaged area, and it recruits these white blood cells that patrol your body, moving through your blood vessels. So in step 2, you can see right here that you've got this white blood cell called a phagocyte that creeps out of the blood vessel and starts marching towards the bacteria. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment. All right, it's really pretty wild that you have these in your body. And when one of those white blood cells, called a phagocyte, gets to the bacteria, it can surround the bacteria and bring it into its body. That's called phagocytosis, and then destroy that bacterial cell or whatever that pathogen happens to be. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, this is a white blood cell right here, a real white blood cell called a neutrophil. And here you've got flesh-eating bacteria called MRSA. And when I press play, you can see this thing creeping along the surface of the glass that it is on. All right, this can do this right through your body, through all the individual cells of your body. And as it creeps along, if it finds something that shouldn't be there, it'll reach out and eat it. All right, so it's searching, and then it surrounds that bacteria and eats it. All right, pretty cool. So now for the immune response. This is the specific response. And if you've heard about vaccines, of course you have, and long-term immunity, that's referring to this kind of response. It involves T cells, and it involves B cells, and it involves antibodies. So how does it work? Well, you have a T cell here that will recognize the outer parts of whatever that pathogen is. And they're these really, really small parts, and that the T cell is able to recognize with this locking key-like fit. And if it finds a match, the T cell finds a match with the pathogen with a certain type of outside part to it, that outside part's called an antigen, it will start dividing. And some of those T cells will go on to actually go out and target infected cells, all right, that are carrying that pathogen inside them and destroy them. Yes, it destroys your body's own cells, but at the same time, it destroys the pathogens that need to be removed. Then you've got these other T cells that will go on to stimulate B cells, and it tells these B cells to go on and make antibodies. Okay, what two roles does a T cell play after it divides? Some T cells attack damaged cells, thereby destroying the pathogen, and then also they can activate B cells. Now we move on to B cells. B cells produce antibodies, and antibodies have a lock and key fit with the things that they attack. And that's the whole idea behind this task. The B cell is carrying the antibody on its surface. It can release it into the blood as well, but it's carrying it right now on its surface. And if you look at the shape of that end of the antibody, it has this kind of square-like shape, like it would fit a square inside it. So the pathogen, if it's carrying this square shaped, right? If the outer parts have this kind of square shape, of course, this is overly simplified, but it is a lock and key like mechanism. If the shape matches, then the B cell will be able to target that pathogen. And here we see that there's kind of a triangular shape here, so the pathogen would have a triangular shape on the outside. And here we have this curve here that would fit a circular shape. Okay, now we get to an apply it question, which is a really good one about how your body keeps you safe from strep throat. Strep throat is a bacterium. So when that bacterium enters your body, your T cell, if it finds it, it can identify it and start this immune response. Some of the T cells will go on to target cells in your respiratory system that have been damaged by the bacterial cell, that have that bacterial cell inside them. So they kill the cell which contains the bacteria, and the bacteria will die as well. Also, the T cells will stimulate B cells to make antibodies that can go out and circulate through your blood. And when those antibodies meet up with any of the strep throat bacteria, they latch onto them, clump them up. And if they clump up, they can be eaten by phagocytes. And furthermore, if those antibodies are on the surface, then those antibodies don't have the ability to get inside. They need those antigens in order to get inside and infect cells of your body. So, to answer these questions, B and T cells are the key cells of the immune response. The inflammatory response relies on inflammation, which includes fever, and phagocytes, which are a type of white blood cells that seek out and destroy pathogens. And I get it. Now I know the inflammatory immune responses are the body's second and third lines of defense. Okay. And in the next lesson, you'll learn about vaccines and antibiotics. So that's it, guys.